Welcome to Your Journey. I'm your host, Chuck Lewis, and we got a special guest with us today, and Shawn Lemon, aka the Lemonator. What's going on, man?
What's going on, Chuck Lou? How you doing, man?
Man, I'm doing good, man. I'm glad you came on the show, man. Excited to get you on to talk about your journey. But obviously, man, this last year and a half has been an unbelievable journey for everybody. What was your first thoughts as COVID-19 kind of took over everything going on in our world? Where were you at mentally, like when you got the call to notice that things were shutting down? What did you think about everything that was taking place?
It was wild, man. Just at first, when you initially hear it, we're kind of like, we got to see what's really going on. Is it something similar to the flu, or is it anything like that? But once they canceled the NBA season, that's when I knew, like, things are getting serious. And then that's around the time that they started shutting everything else down in the world. So, and I just, just prayer for everyone. Like, I unfortunately, I lost my high school football coach due to COVID, Coach Zaccarelli, who's been an inspirational part of my life. And so, it sucks, man. And I'm glad that we kind of have these things, these precautions, these vaccines and things of these nature to kind of get things going back to where it needs to go.
Yeah, man. It seems like we're on like the back end of COVID-19. It seems like right now with the vaccinations, things are starting to slow down a little bit with those coming in contact with COVID-19 or catching it. So it seems like we're moving on the right track right now. So we just got to keep making the right decisions, taking the proper precautions and moving forward. But let's get right into it, man. So Shawn Lemon, you're from the DMV. Talk about what it was like growing up in Maryland as a kid.
As a kid, I was born in South Carolina, Charleston,
Okay.
South Carolina.
Okay.
But then probably when I was about third grade, we moved up to the DMV area, and it was like completely. If you've been to South Carolina, you know how it's so southern down there. And then you move up here in the city, and big city life, and it was fun, man. It was fun. You just hit the ground running from there. And I just had kind of found my way. I always had my brothers there, so it always made everything a lot easier for me. So I never struggled with having, kids to play with, because I played with my brothers and played up, like even with like athletics and football. I started my first year of football in South Carolina at 5 years old. And then when we came up here, we just transitioned from, me playing down there to up here. So.
Nah, man, that's great, man. So you attended Westlake High School. Talk about your experience there as a student and as an athlete.
Westlake, it was that nice switch over for me, because I went to like elementary school in DC as more of an inner city, right? So then we moved out here, being in a military family, we moved out here out in the suburb area of Maryland. So just going to Westlake, I had that nice, but I was able to focus on my academics as well as football, and just kind of just being a stable place, a stable environment, and know what I'm going to get out of my school every year. And it was really good, man. Coach Zach and the football staff at Westlake, they did a great job with, in college, it prepares you for college. They have the academic support team there in high school and all that good stuff, and, treatment for guys in high school. So it really worked out well, helped me prepare for college.
It definitely worked out well for you. So in your senior season, you break the school record and the conference record in sacks for having 21 sacks that year. How did it feel to set that record and achieve that accomplishment?
And it was really good for me because I put that work in that offseason. I knew that offseason, well, like going into my senior year, we had three guys that had Division I scholarships, and I didn't have one. So, I wanted that. So, you know what I mean? When you want something, I put my mind to something. I just like every day, I work towards it and just being a little bit better. And so I just put that work in. I had a good D-line coach, and Coach Marlon Curtis, who it was never like some high schools in the inner city, I would see like my buddy Vontae Davis. I went to high school with him in DC. Yep. So at Dunbar High School, a lot of those guys, they don't have the same numbers you have in the suburbs.
Right.
So if you're playing O-line in high school, you're playing D-line. So when I'm at Westlake, we had a huge number of people. So I was just working at that craft of playing defensive end every day with the elite D-line coach. And I feel like he really polished my game up.
Nah, I definitely did. So you ended up committing to the University of Akron. What other schools were interested in you when you were going through the recruiting process? And then what made you choose the University of Akron?
I was committed to University of UConn for like 4 months.
Okay.
So UConn, it was Syracuse that offered, it was Cincinnati, a lot of the Big East schools offered. And then Akron came along after you guys won the MAC championship that year. And it was just a genuine connection, man, with Coach Brookhart and the staff. And I just, Coach Alfred, who passed away, he was the guy that recruited me. And he had a good connection with my family, came down and, spent time with me, came to my high school, and came over for dinner at the house, and it was just the vibe just felt right.
Yeah, no, that's great, man. So you lived in the DMV. You started out in South Carolina. You was born there. Then you did most of your younger years, whether it was junior high or high school years, in the DMV. You transitioned to the University of Akron, Northeast Ohio. Talk about that first year. What was that first year like transitioning athletically, academically, and personally?
So for me, after high school, we graduated high school early June. So like 2 weeks after high school, this is the funniest thing ever. Like when I tell like kids and stuff about it, they crack up because like, I'm sure you can relate to this.
Yeah.
So I'm driving up. I have my car and all that. I'm driving up by myself to Akron because my parents just couldn't come at the time.
Yeah.
And they could have probably took off work, but I didn't want them to be in that position. My brothers both of my brothers are at college. My other brothers working, so it was just me at the time. Like, yo, I'm good. I can drive up there. It's a few hours. I print off the directions from MapQuest. So this is before all the GPS game was happening. So I print off the directions on MapQuest, and I'm like driving and like looking at the paper and like kind of got my map next to me. Like that doesn't exist anymore. Anybody who knows now, like now you got Siri. They're telling you when to make a right turn, and so that was like real funny to me when I was explaining to kids. Like, yo, I drove to college with a printed off piece of paper with directions, and like, yo, just go get it from there.
Yeah, I mean, people don't realize that, man. I mean, you figure, so you came into school, was it probably, what, 2006?
2006, right? The summer of 2006.
Yeah, and look how much the world has changed just from technology. I mean, you're right. I remember when I went to Akron, and I was coming from Pittsburgh, which is a little bit shorter than your drive was, using the directions, printing them offline. And you know how those are, man. I mean, it might look a little funny, ain't nobody talking to you.
So, nobody's reminding you on that. So
right,
if you miss something,
alerts.
Yeah, if you miss something, it's not going to recalculate. You're going to have to pull over and figure it out.
Yeah, no, I mean, and that's how things work. And you got to figure, when I was in college, when I first started, cell phones had just hit the scene in 2000, maybe or they were out, but where people can have access to them, their normal people can afford them.
Right.
Maybe like early 2000. So my first semester, I didn't have a cell phone until the second semester. So for me, I had to use a calling card. Like most people don't even remember that. But if you think about that, that was really only like 21 years ago, how much our world then changed so much. So it's crazy, man, when you look at technology and what is done. And just when you talk about the MapQuest and things you have to do years ago, I mean, we so far beyond that now. It's crazy. But your sophomore year, you're playing against Kent State University, and you get an opportunity to play against Julian Edelman. Talk about that experience and what it was like playing against him.
Man, Julian Edelman, you never really realize how athletic he is until you're out there on the field with him. Yeah. So you watch it on film, you see him making guys miss. And I'm like, man, I can tackle that guy. I feel like I can tackle that guy. You know what I mean? So, man, we're scrambling. It's like, I want to say, this is later in the game. This is like fourth and 20-something. Yeah. He backs up the pass. This is the double overtime game we played at Kent. Backs up the pass, right? And no, that was that my sophomore year?
Might have been your red shirt sophomore year. You was maybe in your second or third year, one of them.
Well, yeah, we play at Kent. This is a game we went double overtime when Bowser caught that catch in the back of the end zone.
Yeah.
So he backs up, he scrambles. Nobody's open. He scrambles, man. He makes me and Mondo run into each other. like he just kind of splits us, bro.
Hey, was that fourth down? Wasn't that like a fourth down play, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah. So he's like 10 yards downfield running. It was Brian Williams. He comes up to try to tackle him. He falls for a pump fake. I'm like, how you gonna fall for a pump fake? 20 yards downfield. But that dude is special, man. That dude, Julian Edelman, like he was special. Like, so when I saw he transitioned to the receiver position, I knew he would fit right in and be a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, man. I mean, he has had a tremendous career in the NFL, still playing, has won a few Super Bowls. And I remember watching him. I actually seen him a few years, actually, before you played against him. And, just watching him, I never saw that he would be able to transition as a receiver. I knew he was a really, really good athlete because if you remember, he was a quarterback, but he returned punts for them too. He was like their punt returner, at least at that time, and so to see what he's doing now and you getting an opportunity to play against him, and I was actually at that game. I remember watching it, man. He's a tremendous ball player. So later on, the next year, you were playing for J.D. Brookhart, and then at the end of the year, they get fired. The next spring, Rob Ianello gets hired on. Talk about what that transition was like. dealing with a new coaching staff, losing the former coaching staff, and where were you just at mentally just with trying to adjust with things?
It was tough, man, because Coach Brookhart, man, he was, everybody who knows Coach Brookhart, he was a really, like, you know, loving guy, loyal guy to his guys. He kind of, you know, really kind of, you know, took us under, especially the guys he really brought in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it was unfortunate, but that's the game. That's the business. I was able to learn the business, the professional side of football at an early age. So it's a new transition of coaches that come in. And, I need to impress these coaches because these guys didn't bring me in.
Yeah.
So, you know, I always knew that I need to stand out because this isn't the coach that offered me that scholarship. So that was just my mindset going forward. When the new staff came in, I just felt like it was a fresh start for me.
Man, it definitely was a fresh start for you, and you transitioned pretty smoothly. You lead the team in sacks that year. In your senior year, you also were second team All-MAC. You know, what went into that offseason for you to perform at that type of level?
It was Coach Jackson, man, Coach Derek Jackson. I just had a guy from initially when we first started spring ball and he came in. I just listened to his philosophy. I'm like, yo, that's the philosophy I've been looking for. Like, you know, that fits my system. And as soon as we go to spring ball, I immediately, you know, make that impact from the work that I put in before spring ball register. And he's seen it and he's like, oh, wow. You know what I mean? So he was really impressed from the beginning, man. He put that extra time in with me, watched film, and helped me utilize what I was good at. It helped me understand that before that season went up. See, I always thought I needed 20 great pass rush moves.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And Coach Jackson's like, no, you need your fastball. You know what I mean? He would always say that. You need your fastball and you need counters. You know what I mean? You need to understand, like, the first quarter of the game is your job to set up your fastball.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? After you set your fastball up and win, you need to counter something off that. So it was always, he just put that in my mind at an early age and in college. And I just kept that, still transitioning that today with me now.
Man, I love how he used that baseball analogy. You know what I mean? Like how, like, you use your other moves to set up your fastball, or like in baseball, you use your fastball to set up some of your off-speed pitches.
Exactly.
One of the things I say about you, man, when you talk about your football journey and playing defensive end, you had great get off. You know, you always had good get off and great lean. If you got them two things, you got a shot, along with the, you know, the athleticism that you had,
right,
the quickness and the speed, but you always had a good get off. You had good lean, and you know how to bend to the quarterback. And I think that's why you're continuing to keep playing and doing the great things that you have. So you finish up your senior year, right? You have dreams to go to the NFL, and you end up going to the CFL and getting picked up by the Rough Riders. You know, talk about what that experience was like, finishing out your senior year and trying to figure out the next step as far as where you were going to play at professionally.
For me, man, it was, I give a hats off to Coach Jackson again because I knew nothing about it. So after our season was over, this was the year the lockout was going on in the NFL. And talked to Coach. He wanted to know, you know, what I thought about things and where my mind was at. I'm like, yeah, I'm going down to Orlando to train, you know, just train for the, you know, for the pro day. Yeah. So I go down to Orlando to train. Coach Jackson gives me a call, like, how things going? I just want you to know that, I passed your name to my buddy who's in the CFL. Wow. And I'm like, Canadian Football League, I don't really know too much about it. He started explaining it to me. He's like, with the NFL having a lockout, you can go down here, you can make a living as be a professional, and you can possibly come back after that. So you're learning how to be a professional at a young age, showing these guys you can stand out, and you're making some money. You know, it's not NFL money right away, but, if you go down here, you get an opportunity to play professional football. And that always just stuck in my mind. And he kind of put me in contact with this guy in Canada. Yeah. And so it was a lockout. I did my pro day. Beginning of my pro day, it was only one. Like, I was really disappointed because it was only one team there. It was only the Cleveland Browns there. Somebody got put in all this work. Smaller school like Akron. We didn't really have a lot of scouts coming in then. Now they do a lot better with it now. Yeah. But it was only one team there. Did our pro day. Numbers got recorded. And so, I knew my chances of getting drafted was very slim. Yeah. So I just used that time to get ready to go to the CFL. So I decided to go to the CFL and just, get an opportunity over there.
Yeah, man. And you've had a great career in the CFL, but what most people don't know is in them first few years, it was rough for you. Yeah. Talk about that experience. Like, you got released a few times. There were some times where you had to wait to get another call or another opportunity. Talk about what you learned about the business of football in the CFL.
Just the business of you're always gonna have one thing you're promised and guaranteed in life, and I understood that and applied it with football was you're gonna deal with adversity everywhere you go. Yeah. And 2011, I go up there to play with the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Before that, I had an opportunity with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers.
Okay.
So I go up there to Saskatchewan Roughriders in 2011. I get off the plane and I'm playing good. I get go to practice, do one-on-ones. I'm winning the one-on-ones, going up against guys, get an opportunity to play in the game. That game paced a whole lot faster. That game paced a whole lot faster, and I just wasn't ready then. I wasn't ready, but I got a chance to get my feet wet and to get an experience of what professional football was like. So I'm 23 years old, starting my first game in professional football, and in a Banjo Bowl. It was Banjo Bowl, Saskatchewan against Winnipeg. So I go up there, I'm starting that game. Man, I had one hit on the quarterback the whole game. I was playing slow because everything around me was happening so fast. Yeah. And then going back, the team was struggling at the time. So then they let me go. They're like, yo, we're going to cut you, possibly bring you back at next year. And they didn't bring me back. So I went home and I'm like, yo, I just can't be home. I can't be here without opportunity. So I decided to send my film out to some arena teams. Wow. So I sent my film out to some arena teams just so I wanted to be active, continue to stay active, continue to get that film rolling there. Send my film out to some arena teams. I signed with the Sioux Falls Storm. I go down there in Sioux Falls and play, two or three games. First game I played, I had 4 sacks. The first game I played, I didn't even start. So I just kept recording that film, and I made enough money in the Arena League because you really don't make that much money in the arena. Yeah. So I made enough money in the Arena League. I went down to a Best Buy, bought myself a laptop, and I kind of just went on YouTube and just kind of learned how to make my own highlight tapes.
Wow.
So then, I made my own highlight tapes, and I just kept sending them out, going to websites, go on Facebook, find out these teams in the CFL, general managers and stuff like that. And I kept sending my film out. I'm like, I don't know when these guys going to check the email, so I'm going to just keep sending it out. Yeah. One of mine's be at the top. So Edmonton Eskimos called me 2012 and brought me up for preseason. They're like, yo, we need a guy to come, take some reps for the weekend. So in my mind, all I needed was an opportunity because that's how hungry I was. I'm like, yo, I'm not going home. You know what I mean? So I'll go up there in 2012 and get an opportunity. And I just made the team from there, had 2 sacks in preseason. So made the team from there.
Man, I think you talked about a lot of different things right there. And like the dedication that you got to have, and I want you to go a little bit deeper with like when you talked about the CFL and how the game is different. How is the game different in Canada versus America? Talk a little bit more in depth about that. How you have to make that investment.
So first of all, there's 3 downs in the CFL, and 3 down football for 10 yards to get a first down. So it's first down, second down, punt. You know what I mean? So it's more of a spread offense style. Like it's not your traditional under center, high formation type of playing style. So the D line is a yard off the ball. So what we talked about earlier when you were saying I had a pretty good get off, my skill set fit the CFL game because I'm a undersized defensive end, but I'm really, really fast. Right. So that helps out with me being a yard off the ball. And I was always taught to play in the 3-point stance. So in the CFL, feels so wide. You play in 3-point stance, a receiver's gonna come in and ear hole you as soon as you get off the ball.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I had to then transition to standing up. So and it's you got 2 receivers coming in waggle motion at the line of scrimmage. So I'm like, I can utilize that for my get off.
Yeah.
Because these receivers are not gonna run full speed to not be going on 1, you know what I mean, or to not be going on 2. So I started using that. Little things like that in my get off in my game and applying it to my game and just always trying to just be a little bit better. Every offseason, add something to the toolbox.
Yeah. Nah, man. And you found a way. So in 2014, you take your game to the next level. You have 13 sacks that year, and you break the CFL record with forced fumbles with 8. You win the Grey Cup that year. What motivated you to have such a dominant performance that year? Now, here you are. You had a transition. You played for a couple of different teams. You got released. You're playing in arena ball. Things worked out a little bit for you, but you're hoping for an opportunity. You get an opportunity in 2012, and then a couple of years later, you're one of the top guys in the league in sacks. How were you able to stay motivated? And then on top of that, you won a championship. Just talk about that whole experience, where you were at mentally, and how you were able to come out and have a dominant performance that year.
I treated that year the same way I treated my senior year in college because I knew, if I wanted an NFL shot, the NFL was something I wanted to work for since I was 5 years old. That's the reason in America, that's why you play football, right? To make it to the NFL, or you just like to do it, you know what I mean? So that's always been a dream of mine. I knew that was an opportunity there. The team that I was playing for, Calgary Stampeders, they looked at as the New England Patriots of the CFL. So every year they're going to be winning. So the first year in 2013 that I signed there was another guy in front of me, Cordero Law. And he was there before me. So they always have a guy that in the wings waiting. So he waited a year. The other guy before him went to the NFL. So it was my time to wait and, kind of just come in and play utility ball for 2013. Right. So 2014, I just knew it was go time. You know what I mean? I knew the opportunity was there. I knew like the things that I could do in that system. I already knew the system. I was coming back to a system that I was already used to. So it just took off from there, man. I had another good D-line coach and Coach Devon Claybrooks, who played with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And he won a Super Bowl down with Tampa Bay with Coach Bruton. And he just taught me a lot of different things and applied it to my game. And really helped out a lot that year.
Yeah, you also won a Grey Cup that year, which is equivalent to a Super Bowl here in the NFL, man. So that was big. And you did some great things. So in the next year, you get an opportunity to play in the NFL. You get picked up by the Pittsburgh Steelers. How did that all come about for you, and what was that experience like?
It was amazing, man. It was a dream come true. Just because all the work that you put in, the journey, you know, the grind and playing arena ball, playing in the CFL, getting cut from the CFL. It was just like, yo, like you're really on the scale now. People are starting to see you. I was always an underrated guy, even in college. You know what I mean? It's always underrated guy, under the radar guy. Like, he can play. He shows flashes. Can he play consistently at a star level? Mm-hmm. So that's all I wanted to do, and it was amazing, man. Like the night after we won the championship, because they're not allowed to call you and stuff. Man, I got voicemails from Arizona Cardinals, Seattle Seahawks, 49ers, leaving me voicemails telling me they want to work me out, Washington Redskins. Mm-hmm. So I had 14 visits, NFL visits after that Grey Cup season. And I was actually, before I went to Pittsburgh, was my last trip. Before I went to Pittsburgh, I went to Seattle Seahawks. Wow. And I told Pete Carroll after my workout and everything, Pete Carroll come down, chewing his gum. You know what I mean? I told Pete Carroll, like, yo, like, I'm coming here. You know what I mean? Like, yo, I'm coming here. Yeah. So I told him I was coming there, and then I went back home, and then Pittsburgh Steelers came up. And my agent, David Canner, he's like, just take the trip. You know what I mean? So I took the trip and went there and instantly just fell in love with the place. Mike Tomlin, like, when you meet Mike Tomlin, the first time you meet Mike Tomlin, you feel like you knew him your whole life. Yeah. So he had that effect on you as a coach and as a person. And he wouldn't let me leave the building because he coached Devon Claybrooks, who's my D-line coach in Calgary. So he was like, he's like, yo, I want to see you do this drill. If you can't do this drill, I'm going to call Coach Claybrooks and get on it. We did this drill every day in Tampa. So I did that drill great because we did it every day with Coach Claybrooks. Yeah. And he was immediately impressed, like, what time your flight leave? I'm like, I think I'm supposed to leave at 3. He was like, no, you're not leaving. We're getting you released today. Getting you released from Calgary today. So
that's crazy, wow. Man.
Yeah, so they called Calgary like, yo, we're going to offer him a contract. We want to offer him a contract. I'm thinking like, man, I just told Seattle I was going there. Yeah. But Mike Tomlin's vibe and his persistence, like, yo, we don't care about that flight. Get him another flight. Right. He's not leaving the building until he's Pittsburgh Steelers. Right. So I'm like, yeah, man, let's get it done.
Yeah, and when you think about Pittsburgh, you know, them kind of running that 3-4, I mean, that's like right in your alley. You know, that stand-up end, you know, you being that third down type of guy and getting to the quarterback. And like you talked about, I mean, that has always been your main thing is getting to the quarterback. Right. You know? I mean, you could play against the run, you know, but you were always like a little bit of an undersized guy. Right. But, man, you could always get to the quarterback, man, at every level. And so that's why you got that opportunity. So you played for Pittsburgh for a while. And as the business of football kind of picks up, you get released. You then get picked up by the 49ers, and then kind of like how the business of football works, you get released. So where's your mind at, man, with football and life? You get released a couple of times in the league. You, at this time, probably have been released maybe 6 or 7 times where you're just talking about like your professional career at that point in time. And at that point in time, you probably have been playing for about 5-6 years at that point. You know, where are you at mentally, man, as you're getting released and going through this process of trying to make your dream to the NFL and it's just not working out for you?
You know, what's wild to me was like the NFL process was what I needed. You know what I mean? Because it was something that was hanging over my head. Like, yo, like I really want to. I know I can play in the NFL. You know what I mean? So I go to Pittsburgh OTAs. I'm standing out. Mike Tomlin every day OTAs. He has a set where he puts 3 or 4 plays up of guys cut ups. He puts a cut up of me making a jab step inside, spin outside on a tackle, you know, just to go right there. You know, Ben Roethlisberger, you don't really sack him in quarterback in practice, but, you know, they get the point. They know you beat somebody. He's like, Shawn Lemon, man, like, we know all the coaches in here know you know, what you can do. 14 sacks in the CFL, won the Grey Cup. Man, I need to see what you can do on special teams, man. So, you know, that was what he wanted to see from me because of the business side of me coming from the CFL. So I started doing my little stuff in the special teams and, you know, attending special teams meeting. Last day of OTAs, I have the same injury that AD has right now. I had it with his Achilles. So my whole Achilles is messed up. I'm flying back and forth from Washington, D.C. to Pittsburgh, the whole little time off from training camp to OTAs and just, you know, getting rehab and stuff on my Achilles and all that. So I was getting these PRP shots. And the treatment that they did on my Achilles, it took a little bit longer. So I didn't even really suit up for training camp with the Steelers. We was out there at practice. I'm standing on the side. One of the safeties went down. And I'm walking. After I go to treatment, I'm walking to the cafeteria. And the general manager taps me on my shoulder. And he was like, man, we got to bring a guy in, man. Coach Tomlin, he loves you. Joey Porter was a player that I looked up to. He's my position coach.
Yeah.
So I'm like, man, this is, you know what I mean? Like, this is nice.
That's it, yeah.
So he's my position coach. He's like, man, we gotta bring somebody in. We're gonna have to release you. You can't release a player that's injured. So they gave me a settlement throughout my contract because I was still injured. So from after that, just continue to rehab, and then I'm sitting at home watching ESPN at my mom's house. So we on TV, we see Aldon Smith gets suspended with the 49ers for whatever he did or whatever. So I immediately, because I at that point I owned my journey in the sense of I had NFL teams' phone numbers in my phone. Yeah. So I call the 49ers. I get the workout set up myself.
Wow.
Yeah, I get the workout set up myself.
Wow.
So I go down there and fly down there. We're going to bring you in for a workout. We need outside linebacker. I tell my mom's, like, I'm taking all my stuff. Like, I'm taking all my stuff. I'm getting in this training camp. You know what I mean? So I do the workout, killed the workout, had a good workout, and they offered me a contract after that. So I signed there. I just picked up the training camp from there. Man. And that training camp was good. I go against guys like Trent Brown, who's highest paid offensive tackle in the NFL. Mm-hmm. I went in one-on-one reps and doing that. It's just timing, man. And I understand. You never really understand the political side of things. But in my mind, I had that closure because I competed at the highest level and I made plays. Yeah. So I was okay with going back to the CFL from there. So I was never in a down place because, like, I made plays in the NFL. I just couldn't, beat the political side of it.
Yeah, man. So you go back to the CFL, and in 2016, you bounce back like a true champion, second in the league in sacks. You're selected to the CFL All-Star Game. How did it feel to achieve those accomplishments with all the things that you went through, bouncing from team to team in the NFL, but you bounced back like a true champion, man, and you finished tied for second in sacks with 14 that year. How did that all feel for you?
Man, it felt good, man. I even had to deal with more adversity that year. I signed with Saskatchewan Roughriders. And again, I got traded after the first game of the season. Got traded at the first game of the season just because the scheme and the schematically of things, I was doing a lot of like dropping in coverage, doing all that stuff. So the scheme didn't really fit my skill set. And I wasn't really happy at the time. So I kind of requested the trade. I traded to Toronto and things just took off from there. I knew I had to like prove my worth from being in the NFL for so long and come bouncing back and forth and stuff like that. So I had to prove my worth to Toronto. And the scheme just fit there. And I played for Coach Stubler there, who's my D coordinator in Calgary the year I won the Grey Cup. Yeah. So, you know what I mean? Like, that's the scheme where he knows how to unlock me. And he just let me go eat.
Yeah, I mean, that right there, I mean, for you to finish up like that, you had 2 seasons where you had big-time sack years, and then you go to the All-Star game. Like, what was that experience like at the All-Star game for you?
Oh, in the CFL, they just select you to the All-Star team. So they don't have an actual, per se, All-Star game because of they're in the remembrance of back in the early 50s or 60s. They had an All-Star game, and there was a lot of players that, like, it was a big plane crash, So in honor of those guys that passed away in that plane crash that were coming to the All-Star game, they don't do an All-Star game anymore in the CFL. They just select you players to the All-Star team.
Yeah, no, that's big, man. So that's like being All-Pro pretty much.
Right, exactly. That's like we're All-Pro, yeah.
That's big, man. So as you reflect back on the journey, man, when you look at when you first started in the CFL to now, you're still currently playing in the CFL. Mm-hmm. You're in your 11th season. What motivates you still to play the game?
Just proving people wrong, man. Like, I had to prove people wrong since high school. Yeah. And, like, with the minute that I feel like I don't need to prove anything else, I walk away from the game. Yeah. But I'm still hungry every offseason. I want more. Like, right now I'm at 70 career sacks. My goal is to get to 100. Yeah. You know what I mean? There's only 12 players in the CFL to get 100 sacks ever in 100 plus years. And I'm this close, and you know what I mean? Like, so I'm going to do what I need to do I'm chasing that 100. That's how I feel. Yeah. So I was fortunate enough to win 2 Grey Cups. I won a Grey Cup in Toronto in 2017. And, I want to win more Grey Cups and, just have fun and get these sacks. And, to kind of help mentor the guys, because when I was coming up in the CFL, I didn't have that older vet really to take me under, to show me how to be a pro, what to do, what not to do, and stuff like that.
Nah, man, that's huge, man. And we're glad to see you still playing ball, still doing great things. Like you talked about 70 sacks. I mean, that's huge. All it's going to take is for you to have 2 more good years, man, when you put up some big numbers, man, and to reach your goal, man. So we're going to transition to the last segment of the show. It's my favorite segment of the show. It's the top 5 segment. So I got some categories for you. You give me your top 5. So starting off with the first question, Shawn, you played D-line since high school. Give me your top 5 defensive linemen of all time.
All time?
Yeah.
I gotta put Charles Haley up there.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a huge DeMarcus Ware fan.
Yeah.
And funny quick story. I met DeMarcus Ware. I took a trip to the Denver Broncos.
Wow.
That's the year that DeMarcus Ware was there.
Yeah.
So I'm in there after my workout. I'm in there with John Elway.
Yeah.
DeMarcus Ware's in the locker room. He's introducing him to me, telling him about, played in the CFL.
Yeah.
And like I grew up with DeMarcus Ware on my wallpaper on my laptop and pictures up in the house.
You wore 94. Man. You wore 94 a little bit in
I wore 94 because of DeMarcus Ware, my first year. And I meet him there, and he's like, "Yeah, man, ask me questions about the CFL. I'm trying my hardest to be like to not be like, yo." To not be like a big fan, you know what I mean? So he was asking about the CFL. I played it cool, but after he left out, man, I'm like crazy. Like, man, I just met DeMarcus Ware.
Yeah. Man, he was a baller too, man. He was a serious baller, man.
And the thing that I attached to him because he went to a smaller school like I did. He went to Troy.
Yeah, Troy.
So Troy's in that same Akron mid-major type of school. So that's why I kind of followed his career and kept up with him from there. But I would say those two. This is no particular order, by the way. Yeah. I'm throwing Dwight Freeney in there just because he introduced me to the spin move. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Nobody does it better. Nobody does it better than him.
Exactly. I'm going to go throw another underrated guy. I'm not going to go with mainstreamers. I'm going to go with another underrated guy, Robert Mathis. You know what I mean? He just went to a small school guy and had a lot of production in the NFL as well. Yeah. And let me see.
Yeah, 4.
It's 4?
Yeah.
And just he's my coach. He was my coach in Pittsburgh. I got to go with Joey Porter. I got to go with Beast. I got to put Joey Porter up there. Yeah. Statistically, I don't know where he falls with them, but he played with that anger and that aggression. And that's what I love to play with because that brings the best out of you.
I mean, you got to figure, man, he was the catalyst, man, to them winning the championship there. Being in the mix every year. I'm from Pittsburgh, so, I follow his career a lot. And then the first year that he went to the Dolphins, if I'm not mistaken, he had like an 18 sack year that year.
Right, exactly.
So, I mean, he was a big-time football player, man, and made a lot of football plays, man, in the NFL. And he's had a pretty good year in coaching. So for my next question, you follow the NBA. Give me your top 5 NBA players of all time.
All time? I got to go with my boy Bron. I got to go with Bron 1. I'm putting – this is in the order. Yeah. So this part of it's in order. Yeah, there's a lot of, I just feel like LeBron does it all, man. He can play 1 through 5 and be all NBA at 1 through 5.
Yeah.
That's, you know what I mean? And people say what they want, beg to differ, but for me, it's LeBron James. You know what I mean? So I go with LeBron at 1. I'll go with Michael Jordan at 2.
Yep.
I'm going to go with Kobe Bryant at 3. And this might throw people off, but this at the end of the day, this is my top 5. I'm throwing Allen Iverson up there at 4. I'm throwing Allen Iverson up there because I had a lot of respect, and I grew up one of his fans as well. Yeah. And at 5, I'll go with Will Chamberlain at 5.
Yeah, that's a great 5 right there, man. You show up to any court in America with them 5, man, you're gonna be in the mix to win it for sure. So in the midst of your journey, man, you got a chance to travel a lot. Give me the top 5 places that you've ever visited or vacationed.
I'm gonna put everybody that watches it knows me gonna laugh at this. I'm putting Toronto at 0. You know what I mean? Like that's 1. Like that's better than 1. I'm putting Toronto at 1.
I've been there. It's a great place. Great place.
Exactly. Just the culture, and it's like I never felt like playing in Toronto. I never felt like I was in another country.
Wow.
I never felt like that. Like the diversity there is amazing. Or whatever, any type of food I ever want or anything to go out to eat, it's always there for me. And I had developed great relationships in the city there. So I want to go down to courtside at a Raptors game. I'm there. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm there, no question. I'm there. Yeah. So I just developed great relationships there. I'm going to say Vancouver is second. Very, very beautiful place. Vancouver is a very beautiful place. And there's a spot in Calgary called Banff Springs. And it's up in the mountains. Yeah. You get the mountain look, and you get the water and all that stuff. And so I'm going to say Banff Springs is a very beautiful place. I'll put that up there. Montreal. Montreal is a very beautiful place. And I'm just talking about, you're talking about the world. I'm talking about Canada, because Canada's an amazing country. I never knew nothing about it. I never know going from, Akron, Ohio, playing football to go to Canada, that I was going to, fall in love with a country like Canada. Yeah. But Montreal, I just felt Montreal gives you that you're in another country vibe, because you got part of the menus in English, other parts in French. Yeah. So, I love the weather there too. That's a tough one. And Jamaica's pretty too. So I say I went to Jamaica too. That's a nice place to have a good time there.
That's good, man. That's a good 5 right there, man. So for my last question, give me your top 5 movies of all time.
Top 5 movies. Definitely putting Friday at 1. Like Friday is definitely 1. Friday's definitely 1. All About the Benjamins, maybe like 3, 4.
That was a good one too.
Right?
Funny.
I want to say Any Given Sunday, definitely 2. Any Given Sunday, definitely 2.
Yeah.
See, this is just me, man. I'm gonna say State Property. It wasn't the mainstream movie, but
hey, this is your top 5. It's cool. It's cool.
Say State Property, yo. And somebody watching this gonna be like, yo, what's wrong with this?
Yeah.
Man, what's the other one, man? I can't think of the name right now. Cameron was in it.
Oh,
Paid in Full. I'm gonna go Paid in Full.
Oh, no, that's classic. That's like my favorite movie for sure.
Exactly. So I like movies like that. Yeah. I like movies like that. Like I can relate to movies like that. That's it for me. You know what I mean? Like I love the other mainstream movies, but movies like that like really hit home for me. You know what I mean?
No, for sure. I mean, especially Paid in Full. I mean, there's just so many like lessons in that movie, man. And you gotta watch Paid in Full is like one of the movies you gotta watch like about 5 or 6 times to really catch everything, because there's so many subliminal things that happen in there. But no, man, that's a great 5 right there. Well, man, we at the end of the show, man. First and foremost, man, I just want to thank you for coming on, man. I mean, to share your journey, man. And it's been an unbelievable journey, man. And one of the reasons why I came up with this podcast and this platform for people to come and tell their journey is that there's everyday people out there doing some amazing things. And a lot of times we get so focused on like these A-list celebrities and actors, which we got a lot of love for them. But there's a lot of guys like yourself, man, doing unbelievable work and doing things behind the scenes, man, and doing a lot of great things, man. And a lot of people don't even realize that probably even went to Akron during your time that you're still playing football. You know, you're probably the only guy on the team that year that's still playing football. And maybe Armando Sewell is close. He's still playing, but I mean, to watch the things that you've done and to see you grow and develop as a man has been tremendous. I was there when you came there, early in your career at the University of Akron, working with you as your academic advisor, man. And to see the steps that you have taken, man, all I can say is that I'm proud of you, man. Like, I mean,
appreciate it, man. Appreciate it, man. It's just one thing I used to remember those talks you used to sit in your office. I used to tell you, like, I used to be passionate about, like, yo, I get an opportunity, like, yo, it's up from here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's gonna happen, man. I appreciate you, man. I always watch the show, watch the platform, and I've been itching to get on here for a while, man. Just because I know there's a lot of kids that go to Akron that have no clue who I am.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because I'm sure, like, I'm not up in their facility anywhere, unfortunately, but they just don't have no clue of you can make it out of the University of Akron. You can do something special out of the University of Akron. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think the one thing that I would say too, like when we talk about journeys, man, one of the things about your journey that I think separated you from a lot of the guys, man, that I've been around is like your confidence. Man, you always had that belief in yourself, even when there was times, because I seen you went through adversity at Akron, you went through adversity in the CFL. I mean, you went through the adversity in the NFL, then back to the CFL. I mean, your whole journey, there's been a lot of adversity, but you always believed in yourself, man. And I think that's something that's important too. And I think that's also that makes your journey stand out. A lot of people don't even realize, what you've done. Those maybe individuals that might have been at the university or still at the university now. I mean, all the leaps and valleys that you went through, man, and you still believe in yourself today. Like you still believe you're going to get to that 100 sacks. And we're going to be watching and tuning in and watch you get there, man. So it's been a blessing, man. I got a chance to be a little bit part of the journey, man, for that 4-year period you was at Akron, man. And to see what you're doing now, man, and for you to share and drop so many gems today, man, I'm excited to see what your future is going to be. God bless you, you and your family, man.
Appreciate you, man.
No, I appreciate you, man. Well, thanks everyone for tuning into your journey. Be safe and God bless.